Welcome to AMC News.
Hello, I am going to talk about what is euthanasia and what are the kinds of euthanasia. First, what is euthanasia? Euthanasia is now used to mean the act of inducing an easy death. I mean the painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable and painful disease or in an irreversible coma. The kinds of euthanasia. First, we have active or direct euthanasia. That involves specific actions like lethal drugs and injection. Then we have passive euthanasia, widely carried out and generally judged to be legal, where patients are allowed to die by withdrawing treatment and or nourishment. And finally, we have indirect euthanasia. That is the practice of providing treatment, normally pain relief, which has the side effect of hastening death. Thank you.
After knowing and getting informed about what euthanasia is, it's time to explain why it is so controversial. First of all, euthanasia is about taking a life off. Sometimes the person who is in a terminal illness doesn't have enough strength to live, and the person has the right to say if he wants to live or not. However, it is considered kind of immoral because the person who is going to be killed sometimes doesn't have enough strength to say what he wants or she wants. So, the family is the only group who can decide if the person is going to live or not. On the other hand, there is this group called humanists, and they fight for the right of the person to choose if they want to live or not. Sometimes the person is suffering too much that the only option that she or he finds is to kill themselves. But there is this part of religious people, and they think that taking a life off is playing with God, because the only person who decides who live or not is God. So, by taking into account both perceptions of humanist and religious people, we can say that they are in an argument, because in one hand humanists are in pro of this kind of death, and on the other hand there are religious people who think about the moral thing, and they say that God is the only person who takes life out. So, this fact of euthanasia is very controversial, and knowing both parts about religious and humanist make us think what to do if we had the case in front of us. Sometimes we have to consider what to do with others' life. So, the fact if it is moral or not is about oneself.
Okay. The most famously case about euthanasia is the case of Diana Prairie, who is a woman in the terminal phase of a motor neuron disease who wanted to assurance that her husband wouldn't persecute if he helped her commit suicide. Diana and her husband fought an unsuccessful legal battle, which ended on 29 April in 2002, when the European Court of Human Rights dismissed her claim that the British courts were breaching. Diana died after suffering a breathing difficulties 3 days after the rally, and the frightening death when she wanted to avoid.
Where this practice is permitted, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg permit euthanasia and assisted suicide. Switzerland permits euthanasia if the person assisting acts unselfishly. Colombia permits euthanasia. California has just joined the U.S. states of Washington, Vermont, Montana, and Oregon in permitting assisted suicide. Canada permits euthanasia since February 2016. How did the law change in these places? In Colombia, Montana, and Canada, the courts took the lead of changing the law on the basis of human rights claims. In Belgium, Luxembourg, Quebec, and Vermont, it was the legislature who changed the law. How old must the patient be? Only the Netherlands and Belgium permit euthanasia for patients under the age of 18. In Belgium, a competent patient under the age of 18 may request euthanasia with parental consent. Additionally, scrutiny of the child's competence is required, and suffering based on psychiatric disorder is excluded.